expected to bring drenching rains to an area already saturated by record-breaking rain. Meanwhile, officials in the Philippines have declared a state of emergency after the storm killed at least 114 people and left 127 others missing. Flash flooding caused rivers and waterways to swell, forcing people to climb onto their roofs for safety. The region is still recovering from a deadly earthquake back in September.
NTSB officials briefed the public today as they try to determine what may have caused that tragic plane crash in Kentucky on Tuesday.
Some new video shows another angle of the moment a UPS cargo plane attempted to take off from Louisville before erupting into that massive fireball. We do want to warn you, the video may be distressing to watch.
At least 12 people were killed, including a young child and 3 crew members on board, and it could keep rising.
Officials have recovered the plane's black boxes, which could be key as investigators try to piece together what went wrong here. NBC News correspondent Adrian Broaddus is in Louisville, Kentucky. Adrian, what did we learn from the NTSB presser?
You know, every day we're learning something new, and officials with NTSB, the biggest thing that they told us today, that they were successfully able to retrieve data from those black boxes. We're talking about the cockpit voice recorder as well as the flight data recorder. These are both significant because they will help them piece together possibly what happened and what led up to that crash. The flight data recorder had 63 hours of data over 24 flights, including the accident flight. Now, the CDR, that's the cockpit data recorder, it had about 2 hours of audio, including the accident flight. A team will transcribe that audio in the coming days. Again, so many people here are looking and hoping to get answers quickly. We're getting answers, but this investigation is one that is going to take time. But those black boxes, key pieces of evidence, because the cockpit voice recorder captures every sound. So, for example, if there's an alarm going off, if someone inside flips a switch, someone at NTSB will know what that is, guys.
And Adrian, Louisville is a critical hub for UPS, right? And we should note that many folks rely on the mail for essential items like medications. Have the operations of UPS been impacted?
Yeah, there was a slight interruption, as you can imagine, but we've seen planes departing from the grounds here today. They are getting the planes back out there, and UPS is trying to get up to speed. It's not only significant for folks here in Louisville, but even across the country, Kate, as you pointed out the need to about medication. We received a statement from UPS saying in part that their goal is to begin returning the network to a normal cadence, and the outbound flights from Louisville arrived at their destinations this morning. Back to you.
Adrian Broaddus, thank you.
We are following breaking news, a verdict in the civil case brought by a former teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student.
A jury found her former assistant principal grossly negligent for not acting on concerns that were brought to her about the student. As we've been reporting, Abby Zwerner filed the lawsuit after she was shot at a Virginia elementary school back in 2023.
Let's bring in NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach, and NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris is here as well. Gary, I'll start with you. You're outside the courthouse in Newport News, Virginia. Walk us through the verdict and what you've heard from attorneys outside the courthouse.
Yeah, jury finding Dr. Ebony Parker grossly negligent for her lack of action there on January 6, 2023, when a 6-year-old child shot Abigail Zwerner in the hand and through the chest where the bullet remains today. The jury deciding that they were going to award Abigail Zwerner $10 million. Zwerner's team had asked for $40 million in this case, but it comes as the jury clearly not buying the defense's argument that she was not legally liable for the several warnings that she was given that the child could in fact have a gun, perhaps in his jacket pocket, perhaps in his backpack. Of course, that child did end up having a gun. Attorneys for Abigail Zwerner came out after the hearing and after the verdict was read, and they're thrilled with this ruling, and they believe that this is something that could impact more than just this case.
Whether it's an individual case like this or the mass shootings that have destroyed America, school safety, teacher safety, children's safety is the most important thing. This verdict reminds people that you will be held accountable if you don't make that your first concern. So we're pleased with the jury understanding that.
Now, Dr. Ebony Parker also faces criminal charges, 8 charges of criminal child neglect. She goes on trial for those November 17th. Guys.
Misty, let's bring you in here. Gary mentioned they had asked for $40 million, the jury awarding $10 million. What does the jury take into consideration when deciding the financial aspect in a case like this?
So there are certain types of damages that are recoverable. We heard evidence about them at trial, and some of those are a bit more objective. You have lost wages. She can no longer be a teacher. What does that mean? You have medical expenses, the cost of medical treatment. Experts testify about that. And then there's a bucket that's a lot different, and it's pain and suffering, emotional distress, and the impact of that incident, not only at the time, but how it affects her for the rest of her life. And that's where you get to that kind of a number.
Misty, we've seen